Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Several of the things before the gala I did not witness. I had to take Fred's word on this, but combined with the things I heard before and saw during the gala, I believed them. The cast. Fred, a reporter of that newspaper, in charge of editing the material for this project. Karen, leader of a charity that collects donations to help Afghan children and women in Afghanistan. Ken, Karen's nephew and one of the editors at the newspaper, one level higher than Fred but not his direct superior. Eva, leader of a charity that distributes donated uncooked food for a week to the ones in need. Me, a guest at the gala and a friend of Fred. Background. A few years ago, in a time when a large amount of refugees came to my country and many charity organizations focused their efforts on them. But there were still several charities focusing on senior citizens, children, poor people, animal help, and so on. To honor the organization helping the society and to raise awareness, the local newspaper started a contest for the best charity in the region. Each week they would bring an article on one charity, and in the end the readers would vote who was the best. After that, a gala was held. A short film on each charity was presented and the audience and jury would elect their favorite. The three votes would be merged into one result. The final winner would receive a £5,000 donation for the charity. The build-up. Over the time, all the charities were presented in a newspaper. Only two major incidents happened. Karen started suggesting that charities not focused on refugees should be expelled, because they are not following the needs of this time. Karen, supported by Ken, was ranting to the editors of the newspaper that Eva should be disqualified because this perverted guy is a racist. Eva's charity started to supply refugees with food in addition to the ones they already supplied. Everyone still got enough food and it was spread equally. No first come get best stuff. But after some refugees used their fest to get a place more at the front of the line, Eva split the handout day into 2 days, one for refugees and one for the other people in need. Both requests have been whipped away by the directors. After the articles, all charities supplied the newspaper Fred with videos of their work and Fred came for a video interview. Fred had to cut it together to a video of a 2-minute interview and 3 minutes of their work. All charities sent in their video footage. All have been told it will be cut down to 3 minutes, so they should send around 5 to 10 minutes of their work. Most did as told. Karen sent in 8 hours of unedited, uncut videos from her last trip to Afghanistan. Fred asked her to narrow it down to the things she wanted to be in. She told him to shut up and do his job. She also demanded that her video has to be at least 15 minutes because her work with the lovely children is far more important than the useless stuff the others do. It went back and forth and she always demanded a longer video. Fred did his best and made 4 clips 3 minutes of good-looking stuff and asked which one she wanted.
All of them, and some more. You missed some of the important stuff. You will not cut me down against these other organizations.
Next were the interviews with the charity staff. Again, all went smooth with everyone except, you guessed it, Karen. The interview with Karen was by far the most difficult with all her demands on what he has to do exactly, as she tells him or she will have Ken make HR kick him out. Fred did as she told him and got some nice video footage to work with. You should not threaten the job of someone, especially in Germany. We take this very personal, and so did Fred. But Karen gave him everything he needed. The day before the gala, Fred sent Karen 3 videos of 5 minutes lengths, 2 of 8 minutes lengths and 1 of 20 minutes lengths, and asked her which of these videos do you want to be played tomorrow evening. After 4 minutes he got the answer.
The longest one, of course, as I have told you 1,000,000 times.
Fred smiled, satisfied I guess. The gala. As you might know, if a series of content is presented to you, at the end the first one is more present in your mind than most others, and the last one is by far the most present in your mind. So the last presentation spot gets a slight advantage. And who would have guessed? Shortly before the gala, Karen demanded a new spot when her video should be played. She needed the last spot because she had an important video chat with the children earlier that evening. The time of the gala would be in the middle of the night in Afghanistan, so sure she was about to chat with the children. I came quite early and was greeted outside not by the organizers from the newspaper, but by Karen, explaining to every visitor how great her charity is and how important her help is for the lovely children. The gala started, all groups got presented and praised, and the videos came up. As demanded, the last one was Karen's video. The interview part was normal, but after the 2 minutes it went on with her explaining how much money she saves after giving up her flat and moving into the house that charity was renting as office and storage. It's illegal to live in a designated office. How the nice furniture were donations to the charity and too good to waste them. And that it's just fair since she quit her job for the charity and the money she pays herself each month is only slightly more than she made before. Then the work footage came up. First came a nice video of her surrounded by smiling, waving children, all perfectly lined up. Then a video of the same setting, children not well organized, her pushing them around very forcefully onto the places she wanted them. A boy moved from his spot and she hit him in the face.
Stay on your place, you little rat. This has to be perfect. And stop crying or you get another one.
The room was dead silence. You could have heard the butterfly sneeze if one had done so. Karen stormed out of the room shrieking,
"This will have consequences."
As you might have guessed, the audience and the jury voted her last place. The Fallout, a charity that taught refugees how to repair, donated bicycles that they could keep after repairing it, won the prize. Karen got fined for illegally living in a designated office building. The Office of Taxes checked her charity's paperwork and it came up. She stole a lot of money from that charity, enough to get it closed down, and she went to court. The result is not publicly known here, but she was no longer seen around. Ken tried to get Fred into trouble, but the directors stood on Fred's side. They just asked Fred to inform them next time and not pull such a stunt again. When I was a kid, I had this whistle that I got from my grandparents after they passed. I loved that whistle. I wore it around my neck all the time. It was broken though, so it didn't make a sound, but it looked cool to me. One day the principal saw it and demanded I give it to him so I didn't disturb class and other students with it. Even though I tried explaining it's broken, he took it from me. At the end of the day, I told my parents what happened and they were very angry. Very angry. They drove me to the school again and demanded to see the principal. And an hour later, he showed up and my parents demanded the whistle back. He denied ever taking anything from me, but they called nonsense and demanded it back or they would sue the school for inheritance theft. Still don't know what that means. And he groaned and went to his office to get it. When he gave it to me, I broke down crying. It was flattened, like someone put something heavy on it. It was fully broken and falling apart in my hands. My parents were absolutely livid and sued him for theft and destruction of property. His lawyer met with my parents and our lawyer and asked to settle out of court for the cost to replace or repair it. And they eventually got money from them out of court. Not sure how much. The whistle unfortunately was broken beyond repair, but my uncle, who had a blacksmith's hobby, said he could melt the metal to recreate a whistle. He said he doesn't know if it would work, but it would at least be made of the exact same metal of the other one. My parents agreed and he melted down the broken metal and used some of the compensation money for some extra materials to make sure he could make the new whistle. Maybe 8 or 9 days later he came to me and gave me the whistle. I was so happy and didn't stop giving him the biggest hug. It still didn't work, but I was happy to have the whistle back again. About 40 minutes ago, I was on my way home from my mom's house. As part of my journey, there is a stretch of road that is very well known in the area for street racing. There are 2 lanes in each direction as well as traffic lights exactly 1/4 of a mile apart. I was driving my 1972 Chevy Chevelle SS, as it's a rather nice day and it's going to be in the garage for the winter soon. That said, I also had my pup with me, German/Aussie Shepherd mix. And it's midday, not exactly prime hours for street racing. Not as if there is ever an acceptable time for it. As I'm sitting at the light, I hear a light honk to my left and look over. I see a kid that looks to be around 20 years old, and he's revving the piss out of his crap box. For the car people around, it was an E36 BMW with some mods done to it. How much? I have no idea. The kid starts gesturing for a street race, and I immediately shake my head no. He stands on his accelerator, letting his car backfire sounding like an AK-47. Cool guy. Anyways, I give him a clear thumbs down and look back ahead. He blows his horn and just keeps it pressed down so it's blaring. After 3 or 5 seconds of this, I look over, and I see him holding a pistol with his free hand with a grimace on his face. Looking over his shoulder, I see there is nothing coming from the left. Quickly, I look right as I mash the accelerator, and then I look back left again, seeing no traffic. I kicked the clutch and flew through the intersection, immediately making a right-hand turn at the next light. As I'm driving, I'm calling 911, and I notice this kid is still behind me and is now heavily tailgating. I slow down with my blinker on and turn into a business center. Immediately, once I clear the center island, again kicking the clutch, forcing my car to 180, and I pull back onto the roadway. 911 has already put out officers to rush to me. The 911 operator gives me a route to drive in. I follow it to the letter. After about 2 miles, while I was doing 10 to 20 over the speed limit, trying to keep this guy from coming up beside me, as I'm terrified he's going to shoot, I see a state police SUV pass go in the opposite direction and immediately U-turn in the middle of the road, turning on every light and siren he has. Still doing 10 to 20 over the speed limit, the guy is tailgating and attempting to pass whenever he can. The officer catches up, and I continue to drive the same way I was, and after about 2 minutes, the other driver realized the police officer was trying to pull him over. As a country-esque road veered off in a fork, this guy cuts hard right to take it with way too much speed and too much force. The guy's crap box skids around the turn and slaps into the side of a dump truck at a guess 40-ish miles per hour. I continued to drive on the original road and asked the dispatcher if I should go back or if I could meet the officer somewhere. Thankfully, I was able to meet them in town outside of a fast food joint. The guy has a broken collarbone and a slew of charges, including possession of a firearm by a felon. Thankfully, I will not have to go to court on this, as the officers saw more than enough to slam dunk every charge against him without my testimony. This is the story of how I almost died today for liking fast cars. Okay, just to clarify, this is my dad's story, so I don't know all the details, but I will try my best. So for some backstory, my dad is a painter and has his own business, and we are all well known around the area we live in. And my dad switched to contracts, which he didn't like doing, but people aren't as nice as they used to be. Okay, on to the story now. My dad was making a call for the job, and the customer lady had warned him before that the door at the front of her house tends to open, so she has a chain to keep it closed. My dad understood, and on the next day, he drove over to her house and the door was indeed open. He called the lady twice and there was no answer. So my dad had waited outside in his work truck. The lady then walks out of the house 10 minutes later and starts screaming at my dad.
What are you doing coming into my house while I'm taking a shower?
Dad says, I didn't. Your door was already open. I called to see if it was okay to come in, and you didn't answer. So I waited outside.
Nonsense! Who else could have opened my door?
My dad brings up that she had mentioned that it opens by itself at times, and she completely ignores it. After a while, she comes down and lets him start working. Note, she has already signed a contract for a certain amount of money for the job. My dad was working on the deck and used the primer and then a layer of long-lasting paint. She came in and said,
Why aren't you using the old paint?
That's what we agreed upon. Besides, the paint I'm using will last longer than the paint that was here before.
Yeah, but it doesn't look pretty.
Well, you asked for white, and not another color. She just huffs off and lets my dad finish with everything he needs to fix and paint in just 2 days. On the second day, she complains about how my dad didn't paint this or fix that, so he asks what he can do, and she points at something that they never even talked about. He convinced her that it wasn't in the contract, so she then pulled $1,000 on a check, saying,
My friend has a painter friend who said this job isn't worth that much, so I'm not paying you the whole amount.
Are you serious? You're gonna trust someone who didn't even see what's actually needed to be done, and not the guy working on your house? She just repeats what she said, so my dad decides to go to small claims court. Since she ignored the contract, she ended up paying $2,000 when she lost the case. Karen starts screaming at him when they are done at the court, so Dad tells her, You're so mentally and emotionally unstable. Just shove your words where the sun doesn't shine. My dad is good at his job, and I join him and get paid at times, and we always try to be nice and considerate to our customers. But this time we had to do something. We can't just be considerate to someone who tries to rip others off. I did an online order for a head thermometer from a big pharmacy chain for my husband to pick up since I've been getting sick a lot during my pregnancy. Too much information, but I'm sneezing, coughing, and overall a snotty mess. I don't have COVID, tested 3 times, so I figure it's some cold or something. Online it asks who is a pickup person. I entered my husband's name, then it asks for my billing information, all through my maiden name which I do not use anymore. My husband treks to the store and calls me shortly after to tell me that they are refusing to give me the order because the name doesn't match. They are going by the billing address name, not the pickup name. I haven't used that name in years. Even with a picture of my ID, they refuse to give it. And he warns the staff I'm very sick and still demands I come in. There is no way for me to cancel. I have to wait over 2 weeks for the order to process through for a refund. Well, I guess I have no choice then. I waddle into the pharmacy, 7 months pregnant, sneezing and coughing up a storm. Her coworker is looking at me like I'm a bug, and I couldn't care less at the moment. Not a single employee wearing a mask. They wanted the sick customer to come in and put themselves and other customers at risk? Got it. Insanity. Thank you for watching and see you next time.